Dear friends, today's gospel passage concludes Jesus' great missionary discourse in which Jesus instructs his disciples on the cost and reward of discipleship. In this context, a reporter named Robert Bruce from Chicago Tribune narrates a personal experience from his own life. He says, one day he was walking down a crowded city street. Above the noise of the city traffic and the talking of the people, he heard someone singing cheerfully. It was not any boisterous kind of singing, but a soft, peaceful kind of singing. When Bruce located the source of that sound, he couldn't believe his eyes. The sound was coming from a young man in a wheelchair. He was pushing himself along with the crowd by his arms. This scene illustrates in a moving way what Jesus talks about in today's gospel. Whoever does not take up his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. This young man took up his cross. He accepted his difficult situation of having to face his life not with an artificial leg, but with no legs at all. And that acceptance brought deep peace to not only himself, but also to those around him. Most of us can relate to similar situations because we too have experienced setbacks and tragedy in life. We also may have experienced situations that we could not change. They were beyond our control. We too may have faced choices and didn't know how to respond to those situations. This raises an important question. Why is it that some people can take up their cross and follow Jesus Christ while others cannot, and they find it very hard? Why is it that some people can suffer misfortunes and come out as better people, stronger people, while some others suffer and come back as bitter people? For some people, a tragedy can be a stepping stone to their personal growth, while for others, it could be a stumbling block in their life. Some of you must have heard about Dr. Viktor Frankl. Dr. Viktor Frankl was a famous Austrian psychotherapist. He addresses this question in his best-selling book called Man's Search for Meaning. Dr. Frankl was a prisoner of war during the Second World War, and he personally experienced brutal suffering in the concentration camps. And that turned some prisoners into inhuman beings and others into saintly persons. He really experienced firsthand the sufferings that drove some prisoners into despair and others into hope and compassion. Frankl then says, the deciding factor between these two groups of prisoners was faith. It was faith that gave ultimate meaning to their lives and put them in touch with the higher power that helped them maintain their sanity and even in the face of incredible hardships. Jesus then gives his followers another essential condition for anyone to be his disciple. He says, whoever loves his father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. I know these words might sound a bit extreme for us, since family comes first to us or for us. What Jesus means here is that we must give first place to God, and if we love family or friends more than God, we are not worthy of Him. In short, we must serve the Lord above everything else. Jesus is not attacking family bonds. Jesus is calling us to something higher, to the supreme goodness, transcending our emotional attachment to family members. Therefore, Jesus is giving a warning to his disciples of the conflicts and rejection they will face or experience throughout their life in living out the gospel message in this world. Now, the question for us is, do we place God above all our relationships and priorities? This brings us back to the original question we had. Why can some people in today's world can take up their cross and follow Jesus, while others cannot? The answer is the same one Dr. Viktor Frankl gave in his book. It is faith. Faith in God's word that brought new life to the world, as St. Paul talks about in his letter to the Romans. For us too, it is the same kind of faith in Jesus that can bring new life and new meaning to our lives as followers of Christ. Finally, Viktor Frankl concludes his book by saying, "Our life is never made unbearable by circumstance, but by lack of meaning and purpose." Let me repeat that again. Our life is never made unbearable by our circumstances, but by lack of meaning and purpose in life.